If you post literally anything online, you're going to have haters. So luckily, Jesus told us exactly how to deal with them.
Am I hating her? Do I dislike her? Do I despise her? Do I never want to cross paths with her? No, I'm just correcting misinformation. Coach Greg, today's video, it's on Madeline Spurs. She's 20 years of age. She's attractive and she's lean, but she weighs 160 pounds. And so she went to the doctor and they said, you are an excellent candidate for GLPs.
I found out that I qualify for GLP-1s because at my height and age, I'm technically overweight.
Technically, she's overweight. And technically, based on the BMI, she is. But she's very, very lean. And so I've looked at her body fat percentage and it appears to be in the lower 20s. And so she absolutely doesn't need to lose any weight. She has it made. She's got great genetics and very strong. And so she's powerlifting. She's lifting heavy weights. She's doing chin-ups. She's essentially super fit. Despite the fact that she is qualified for using a GLP if she so wants to, so chooses to, she isn't going to do it. And so that should be the end of the video. But no, let me rub it in.
And when I told my nurse, dang it, I want to weigh more. I weigh 160 pounds. She looked at me like, what do you want to weigh? And I said, 180 pounds. And she was like,
when you're a female and you're 160 pounds and you tell a doctor, a nurse, whatever, that your goal is to put on 20 more pounds, and you're already kind of heavy, 160 pounds, although she is very lean, give her that. They're looking at you like, well, why would you do that? But obviously, if you're a bodybuilder, a powerlifter, you're thinking, well, the more muscle, the better. And so I get her point.
Muscle is dance, okay? When you're packing on muscle, when you're trying to build as much muscle as possible, when you are thinking long-term about your future bone density.
This is where she loses me. Now, she should be smart enough, intelligent enough. She follows Jesus, you know. If you don't follow Greg, most certainly follow Jesus. And so does she not understand the other person's point of view? You're 160. Why would you want to weigh 180? She should have said, well, I want to bodybuild. I want to have bigger biceps than Coach Greg. I want to bench press or whatever. But don't confuse this with health. You know, at 5'6", that you're not trying to put on as much muscle as humanly possible to go up to 180 pounds and think that that somehow is good for you. Having muscles, being strong, absolutely. It's healthy, but to a certain point. And most certainly, if you have to use and abuse performance-enhancing drugs to get said muscle, then there's no way that it's healthy. Now, I'm not saying that she's not natural. I'm not doing that. But does anyone think that a female of, let's say she's 5'6" to 5'8", I don't know, she's enough to be obese, that she needs to have 20 more pounds of muscle in order to, well, let's see what she says.
And your muscle mass at an older age and being able to pick up your great grandkids and not fall over and break your hip when you're 45, you're probably not going to like what the scale says.
These youth of today, Gen X is it called? She's 20. It's not her fault. She doesn't know any better. All they do is they learn from ChatGPT. And so perhaps she hasn't asked ChatGPT enough questions. You don't fall and break your hip from lack of muscle at 45. I'm 50. This is ridiculous. And her mom is 49 years of age. She looks very fit. And her grandma is 71. She also looks fit. And neither of these individuals are doing any of the ultra heavy weights that she's suggesting. And so to me, this is cope. Cope to say, well, I want to weigh 180 pounds and it's for my health. Perhaps I'll start abusing steroids, SARMs, peptides, whatever. But it's so that I can live longer than last time. Now, the number one predictor of longevity, can you guess? I've said it in multiple videos. If you are actually unemployed, you know what it is. Your VO2 max, how much oxygen your body can use at its maximum capacity. And so how do you think you build that from doing cardio? Base of zone 2 combined with perhaps interval sprints, whatever. And that's how you get it. It's not from building a lot of muscle. And so, for example, I weighed 188 pounds this morning. And so do you think that I need to add on 20 more pounds of muscle so that when I'm 79, that I don't fall and break my hip? And so which do you think is more important? Me lifting heavy weights, 3 to 6 reps, oh my goodness, really, really heavy, force it out, or doing cardio?
Because muscle is, it's heavy. So that's all.
Yeah, muscle is more dense than fat. We know that because when you're very muscular, you sink in a pool. And when you're a fat piece of shit, lazy asshole, and you lay back in the pool and you can suntan and not have to swim. And so, hey, if your goal is to go in an ocean and not drown and you want to become morbidly obese, well, the more pounds, the better. But if you're trying to survive to an old age, it isn't advisable to put on more muscle than ever before. Who do you think is going to live longer? The world's strongest man competitors, powerlifters, and so on, or people who do a lot of cardio?
I found out that I qualify for GLP-1s because at my height and age, I'm technically overweight.
I want to point out she's correct that just because your BMI is elevated, it doesn't mean that you're fat. It doesn't mean that you're lazy, and it doesn't mean that you need to lose weight. But for the average person, if you're already overweight according to BMI, and you add 20 more pounds, even if it's muscle, it's not healthy. The heart doesn't give a shit if it has to fuel muscle and or fat. And in fact, it takes more work to fuel muscle than it does fat. Muscle is more metabolically active. And so there are greater cardiac demands on all that extra muscle tissue. And so if she's actually being true to herself, I do believe she means well. She's not trying to deceive you on purpose. But if she really were to dig into this research on ChatGPT, I'm certain that she would discover that it would be healthier for her to do more cardio like her mom, who rides 30 minutes a week. Don't think I didn't watch your videos, than to just lift heavy weights.
I want you to lift heavy weights. Put down the little mamby-pamby pink weights, please.
Isn't it ironic that that's literally the weights that her mom are lifting? Remember, she was doing 30 reps of laterals, 30 reps of bicep curls before doing 30 minutes of cardio. And she sat down with a smile watching her grandma. And I think that, to me, that was very healthy. If I were her grandmother's coach, I wouldn't be saying, I want you to put down the bamby-pamby pink dumbbells and start lifting to your maximum. 3 to 6 reps to failure, as hard as your bones can handle. No, I think she could progressive overload. I think she could go from using 1 pound to 2 to 3 to 4 to perhaps even 5. She could do 5-pound weights for the laterals, 5-pound weights for the curls, and perhaps lower the reps from 30 to maybe 15. But 3 to 6 reps, to me, unless you're an Olympic lifter or power lifter, you shouldn't be lifting that heavy. The chances of you getting injured go up dramatically, and it's not going to build more muscle than doing a slightly lower weight with good form for higher reps.
I want you to lift as heavy as your bones will let you for 3 to 6 reps. This is how you build stem cells. This is how you build mitochondria, which are the powerhouses.
Who is she listening to? That voice in the distance, it certainly wasn't Jesus, because Jesus would not lie. And so what builds more stem cells and the power of the mitochondria? Cardio, not lifting heavy weights. And so it's literally ass backwards. Why are we misleading our audience? And so as I'm listening to this, I'm thinking, well, why is she promoting lifting very, very heavy weights to do essentially what cardio does? And if you don't believe me, I don't want to explain all the science. It would get boring. Just take my word for it. Coach Greg is telling you that zone 2 cardio, for example, is much better at building up your mitochondria. I literally rode the bike an hour and 40 minutes yesterday. Heart rate 122, 201 watts. And why? To build up the mitochondria. I didn't go to the gym and lift 3 to 6 reps. That wouldn't do it. I'm trying to improve my fitness, my cardiovascular health.
And this is how you're not going to fall down from a standing position and break your hip. Number 2, I want you to work in 20 jumps a day. You could do it just like this. This works 20 times.
She's advising people that think that doing 20 jumps a day like this, she's showing herself doing this. Let's demonstrate. If that is a workout for you, you have no business doing 3 to 6 reps to failure lifting heavy weights. If that was hard, to do those mamby-bamby dancy jumps, then the pink 1-pound dumbbells are probably heavy.
You could go up and down stairs. You could jump rope if you want. That will build better bones. Lift heavy and jump up and down.
20 microscopic jumps a day. If that is more work than you're used to right now, I got news for you. You have to become unemployed because you got to have more time in your day to be active. Are you kidding me? 20 jumps a day? That's all she thinks that a person needs? I mean, if she said 10 sets of 20 jumps, if she said progressive overload, jump onto a bench, jump up the stairs, but this is what you think is going to build strong and healthy bones. Why not go for a jog? Jog 20 steps way harder than this. This is bullshit. And she's a 20-year-old female. What do you think the majority of her audience is? I'm going to say it's probably mostly young females. And so imagine the young females are going to watch this video and think, I got to lift all out heavy ass weights, 3 to 6 reps, do 20 jumps a day. Really?
There is a myth in this country that you have to gut it out and sweat it out in all these boot camps to get really healthy and fit.
None of that works. So when I race bikes, for example, 2 days ago at 7 in the morning, going harder than last time, and the race I'm going to do today, that doesn't work. That's a myth. I should just do 20 jumps.
Pro athletes spend 80% of their time in base training, which for us as mere mortal athletes is basically a brisk walk.
Professional athletes don't spend 80% of their time going on brisk walks. What she's referring to is zone 2 cardio. That's moderately intense cardio. Going for a brisk walk is zone 1 cardio. It isn't actually cardio. I count it as NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. If your grandma Josephine, or even my mom is getting old, when she goes for a brisk walk, that is zone 2 cardio. That is great. That is amazing. If you're morbidly obese, you're 400 pounds, and you're walking, that is great. Continue. I'm not trying to tell fat people that walking isn't enough, but if you're, for example, a 20-year-old athlete, perhaps a phenom, you've seen her physique, very strong, very impressive, 20 years of age, if she just goes for a walk, it's doing nothing. That is not enough. And so what I'm hearing, hopefully I heard this right, is that this woman is saying that you need to lift extra freaking heavy, so hard, and do 20 jumps a day, and then go for a brisk walk and you're fine. But that if you train like a professional athlete, 80% of the time in zone 2, which is what I do. And so what that means is if you do 10 hours of cardio a week, 8 of those hours could be zone 2, and only 2 hours are when you're really pushing it, sprinting, doing interval training, hit cardio. 2 hours a week is a lot. Think of it, 80% is zone 2. That's still 2 hours a week where you're really pushing it. And what did she say?
There is a myth in this country that you have to gut it out and sweat it out in all these boot camps to get really healthy and fit.
Gut it out, sweat it out during boot camps. That sounds like the other 2 hours. What she's saying, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't add up. And so that is why I want you to subscribe right now. Listen, you're unemployed. What else you got to do? Click the link, subscribe, and write a comment right now. LOL, I hate running. Now, that brings up a good point. If you don't want to run, don't run. Bike. If you don't want to bike, do something else. Swim. If you don't like to swim, do something else. Hike. You really think it has to be this complicated? What, you can't find something that you like? Cardio is anything that builds up your heart rate very high. If it's not running, is it the elliptical? Is it the stepper? Is it the bike? There's a whole variety of exercises that you can do that will build the most important muscle in the human body. Somewhere around here, you know what it is. El corazón. The heart. La cœur. Don't listen to videos like this where they discourage cardio and just tell you that you need to lift weights.
Getting our heart rates up 45 to 60 minutes a day, and twice a week, you speed it up and sprint a little. That gathers a lot of power in our muscles.
And so does it not sound like she's saying exactly what I've been preaching? 45 to 60 minutes a day, get your heart rate up. Not zone 1, but zone 2. That is what it's supposed to be. And twice a week to build it up. Doesn't that sound like boot camp? Doesn't that sound like interval training? Doesn't it sound like going harder than last time? And so if you don't know how to read between the lines, you're thinking, oh, I just go for a walk twice a week. I push myself a little bit. No, you go harder than just going for a walk. Perhaps you're going for a bike ride. You're walking uphill. You're jogging. You're working on things. And you don't do 3 to 6 reps And you can throw out the 20 jumps. I mean, are you kidding me? You think pro athletes are doing those 20 little jumps to improve their bone density? Like, this doesn't make any sense.
If you post literally anything online, you're going to have haters. So luckily, Jesus told us exactly how to deal with them.
It's come to my attention that people watching me think that I'm a hater. A famous saying by David Goggins was saying that you will never find a hater doing better than you. If I was a hater, does that automatically mean she's doing better than me? Can I not just correct information? Am I hating her? Do I dislike her? Do I despise her? Do I never want to cross paths with her? No. I'm just correcting misinformation. I'm using some of her misguided information and trying to change it to alter it so that you can learn. Just because I don't agree with her and I'm 50 years of age, and some of the comments are going to say, oh, a 50-year-old man talking about a 20-year-old woman. So I treat everyone the same. Isn't that what the Lord Jesus Christ teaches us? To treat everyone the same. And so I don't care if she's 20-year-old female, 20-year-old male, 50-year-old female, 50-year-old male, black, white, doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter!
Give me the decency to be able to talk to and speak about anyone. Imagine, do you really think when I was a school teacher that I hated all my students every time I said, hey, you made a mistake, you correct here, it's not actually right. I'm not a hater. But if you want to say I'm a hater and it makes you sleep better at night, be my guest, your bro from Bangladesh.
I do this 30 times. Then I do this 30 times. Okay.
Notice none of those were 3 to 6 reps of failure. And last I checked, 71 is older than 45, and I don't see her breaking her hips.
Then I do this. 30 times. Okay. And that's all. And then I ride my bike 30 minutes.
With your house slippers on.
And so this is great. Love to see it. Fit family doing their thing, but they're not doing 3 to 6 reps, and they are, in fact, doing cardio. The mom looks fine despite the fact that she didn't weigh 180 pounds at the age of 20. And so remember, she's 20 years of age. This is not a natty or not video. I'm going to assume that she's natural. She most certainly may not be, but it's not about that. If she adds 20 more pounds of muscle, she's going to look like an Olympia-level bodybuilder. If her goal is to get up to 180 while still being lean, bad things are going to happen. And so, in my opinion, this is cope. Just because you have a lot of muscle doesn't mean your BMI should be through the roof. Yes, BMI is outdated. I'd rather you go by body fat percentages, but for females at least, remember they use the same exact scale for BMI for males as for females. How many of you think that a man shouldn't weigh more than a woman at the same height? I'm 188 pounds and I'm a 5'6" manlet. If there is a woman who's 5'6" and 188 pounds, would you not be slightly concerned? Does anyone think that you need to have that much muscle as a female to be healthy when you get older? Now, of course, if she wants to get to 180, perhaps it's her dream as a powerlifter and so on, I would encourage her to do it while being 100% natural, and she could do so by adding this. Turk Builder Max, increase your muscle, have more energy to train harder. And for the cardio, don't forget about GO2 Max. If you want to go and do zone 2 cardio as well as more advanced levels of cardio at a faster pace and have more energy, perhaps go longer, this is a must. The best supplements in the world held at HTLT Supplements. And of course, she can get her blood work done at Algo RX. You can click the link and they can go over this. Remember, doctors are there to prescribe medications. And so depending on what you need, clearly she doesn't need a GLP. She doesn't need to get leaner. But what else might she need? Does she need certain peptides for her health? And so if you're looking for peptide supplements prescribed by doctors that are from compounding pharmacies, no guesswork, not from some sketchy research chemical site, Algo RX, use code Greg, subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algo. And of course, don't forget to watch any of those 2 bloops. And if you want to get sponsored, you want to be coached by myself and my team, or to carry all these amazing supplements into your stores, you got to click the link. And until next time, I am out.